Stan Arthur here for the I Love St. Pete Facebook group. If you're a business owner looking to connect with tens of thousands of potential new local customers, you owe it to yourself to get enrolled in our Key Tag Rewards program. Since 2019, we've signed up more than 200 local merchants. Sponsor opportunities are available too, such as our group banner ad and even your own custom key tags. Just go to stpetekeytag.com, get enrolled, and get ready to get busy. stpetekeytag.com.
BetUS.com. If you guys are betting on the games, whether it's NFL, NCAA, of course, you're not going to do that now. Maybe basketball, not football, but of course, the NHL, NBA, go to BetUS.com. You get a 125% sign-up bonus. And also, if you use this code right here, the promo code of TSW22, which, by the way, stands for the sports web, TSW22, or call that number 1-800-69-BET-US. Again, 1-800-69-BET-US, and put in that promo code TSW22, and I would really appreciate that.
I've had 27 beers spilled on me. Make that 28.
I've only got one place to go before the game.
BetUS.com.
Sign up at BetUS.com and get the best bonuses in the industry.
What's going on, guys? It's your host, Peter Blake of the Sports Web. From my perspective on Amped Up Sports, I love St. Pete and the Hub. And a great moment in Tampa Bay sports history happened on Thursday night at Amalie Arena, as not only the Lightning disposed of the Toronto Maple Leafs 8-1, but the captain, Steven Stamkos, surpassed Marty St. Louis with 954 points, all-time franchise record. Was it to anybody's surprise that he did it versus the Maple Leafs in a situation on a power play being fed by Victor Hedman or Nikita Kucherov? No. It's a great accomplishment. And honestly, it has to make you think that Stamkos could be the greatest Lightning player of all time. I mean, you look at his numbers: goals, points, even strength goals, power play goals, game-winning goals, and hat tricks. And that's saying a lot, ladies and gentlemen, because as you know, the Lightning have some great players in their history. A Vincent Lecavalier, a Marty St. Louis, a Nikita Kucherov, a Braden Point, an Andre Vasilevsky, and let me not forget a Victor Hedman. But you know what makes Stamkos the greatest player, in my opinion, in the Lightning history? Is because he's had to go through adverse situations. Not only some of the failed expectations earlier on in his career, but also the injury history. And still, Stammer is the captain of the Tampa Bay Lightning. Make no mistake about it. With that being said, who could forget Game 3 in 2020, where he just logged 2 minutes and 47 seconds on his first shot to score a goal to propel the Lightning to win their first Stanley Cup with him. And then, of course, they repeated. You would think he was done, but he's not. This year, 35 goals, 93 points. Unbelievable. You know what else makes Steven Stamkos Tampa Bay's own? Because he could have decided to go to the Toronto Maple Leafs and took more money, but he decided to invest not only in the Lightning, but the Lightning fan base. Congratulations to Steven Stamkos in surpassing Marty St. Louis. And in my opinion, he definitely is the greatest Tampa Bay Lightning player of all time. For another edition of Peter's Perspective, live on Amped Up Sports, the Hub, and I Love St. Pete, I'm your host, Peter Blake. It's Stammer time. What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another edition of the Evolution of Sports Talk Television live here on Amped Up Sports. I love St. Pete and the Hub. It's the Sports Web. I'm your host, Peter Blake, giving you something to think about. Only 4 days away from the NFL draft. So how do we start out this show? Bring your passion, bring your excitement. Just don't bring any nonsense. On tonight's show, we'll have the legend himself, former Coach Scout and now media member of Amped Up Sports, Night Sports Productions, Mr. Leo Haggerty leading it off here. At 9:30, we'll have J.C. Allen of Pewter Report talking about your Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the NFL draft, all the rumors. I made a decision this week. It is a executive decision. I'm going live all week, no matter what. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and hopefully Friday on the over-under at 12:52 Sports. And then at 10 o'clock, we'll have the Power Man himself.
Yeah, baby. Yeah.
Mr. Jason Powers, Powers on Sports Podcast, talking about the Tampa Bay Rays, the Tampa Bay Bandits. What the heck was that? Yuck. I thought this was the best team in the league. Not so much. It looks like the New Orleans, not the Saints, the Breakers. Stop me if you've heard this before, Tampa Bay sports fans, during the regular season. Oh, the Tampa Bay Rays. Good weekend by them, huh? Closing out the Red Sox, winning 2 out of 3, 9-7 now. So we'll talk all about them. Tampa Bay Bandits, Tampa Bay Lightning taking care of business. How about that, huh? Just tearing it up and also visiting the White House for the first time in their history. How is that possible? What? They've won 3 Stanley Cups. They've only visited the White House today? What's going on here, Gary Bettman?
Shut up!
And of course, again, we'll talk about your Tampa Bay Buccaneers. 4 days until the NFL draft. I'm not sure where we're gonna be yet, but we may have a little surprise for you. And then, of course, as always, we will take your phone calls. 727-255-0391. It's 727-255-0391. As you can see, I'm pumped up. Are you pumped up? You can hear Alexander in the background. He's howling. Yes, that is my Alexander. We'll read some comments, and then we'll go out to the legend himself. Roger Shue says, here we go. Hit the thumbs up button. Pete is the best. I don't know who that is, but thank you very much. Facebook user. Facebook being weird tonight. Hey, bling, bling, Blake and everyone. Appreciate you, Christopher Cole. Roger Shue, because he likes to argue and be a troll face. Andrew Chuck is the man. He is the man, but is he the greatest Lightning player of all time? Not in my opinion. What Stamkos has done, we can talk about it. You know, people out there, oh, you never talk hockey on this show. Yes, we do. We cover hockey on this show. Did you see the press conference the other night on Thursday night from Amalie Arena? Hello? All right, let's see. The masses were mad because there were no shows during the week. I know they weren't, because there was a show during the week. It was Wednesday. Stop it. See you at Duckies for the draft. No, you won't. Leftwich was so bad, not even the Bandits want him. I mean, why do you always trash Byron Leftwich?
Shut up!
You know what?
How about them Bucks, baby?
I'll give you some Byron right there. There's your Byron Leftwich. Roger Shue says, no, you won't. Christopher Cole, Lightning are getting hot at the right time. Exactly, my friend. Exactly. And Troy Polamalu, USF sucks. Let's go UT Spartans, baby. And once again, you're starting out on a wrong foot, Troy Polamalu. All right, let's go ahead, get his walk-up music on. Here we go. Stand by. All right, former Coach Scout and now media member of Amped Up Sports. And of course, yes, we got to call this standby caller. Hold on a minute, because we're going to go ahead and get you on. But let me go ahead and get my guest on. Mr. Leo Haggerty, welcome to the Evolution. And right when we come in, we got a phone call. and it's from somebody in New Orleans. Can you go ahead and introduce yourself, sir?
Yeah, I'm Herb Sarge Phelps. I'm the one who has the New Orleans Breakers 2022 group, Facebook group.
Well, here's the thing, though. He's being bashful because Leo, this man right here, used to be a national radio talk show host. So I know he wanted to get on here. Leo Haggerty, welcome to the Evolution. Sarge, welcome to the Evolution. And I just got to let you go really quick here. Go ahead and get it out of the way, Sarge, with the Breakers doing what they did to the Bandits yesterday.
Well, you know, I went through sports administration and coaching at the University of Southern Mississippi.
Okay.
And one thing we learned there was don't grow too much because you might be the one getting it the next time around.
I like it.
You guys, you didn't play that well, and we played well. And so, we won that one. Next time we may get our butts kicked.
I agree with you. I tell you what, Sarge, we're going to have Leo on here. Do you got a question about the NFL draft? Because I know you're in Saints country. Leo, this is a special guest here. I know you talk Saints football sometimes. So, Leo, once again, welcome to the Evolution. How you doing tonight, my friend?
Another night in paradise on the north side of the grass.
Absolutely. And Sarge, of course, we talk about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, but we also talk about the division as a whole. What do you see the Saints doing? In your opinion? And Leo, I'll go out to you. What do you see the Saints doing? Sarge, go first.
All right. I see the Saints being anywhere from Super Bowl champions to first round draft pick. I have no idea.
And is that really what it comes down to? I mean, what's the sense there in New Orleans right now in Louisiana for the quarterback? Of course, we're very familiar with him being in the Tampa Bay area, and Jameis Winston.
Well, he was doing pretty good till he got injured in the Tampa Bay game.
Mm-hmm.
He had shown signs, but he did have those points where he didn't quite do it. So he's kind of an unknown commodity. But like I'm saying, we're in a transition period where we just got to get over this area where we really become the team we want to become. We don't really know who we are right now.
Now, Leo, I know we're usually start out with the Bucs, but let's start out with the Saints here. I mean, could you see the Saints with their 2 first-round draft picks possibly trade up for a quarterback, or do you see them using those picks at 16 and 19 to go after a wide receiver and possibly an offensive tackle? How do you see this working out here, Leo Haggerty?
Peter, I don't see them trading up for a quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
I do see them sitting pat or moving down and maybe then taking a quarterback. But I don't think they'll take one in the first round. I believe the Saints are going to look wide receiver. I think they're going to have to look safety because 27 isn't there anymore, right, Sarge? He played a great role. Yeah. Malcolm played a great role, not only in New Orleans, but he was heart and soul in Philly when they won their Super Bowl. So, he's
very beloved here.
Yeah, they got to look secondary with one of those first 2 picks. But, it'll be interesting to see how that plays out.
I'll tell you what, Sarge, I'll give you the opportunity to call back if you want to, because you can always call back here, but you run this great group. It's got 14,000 members. Once again, thanks a lot. Let's go ahead and talk some Saints football a little bit later, but feel free to tell your group, share, and definitely call back the Evolution of Sports Talk Television. All right, my friend?
All righty. Thank you for taking my call.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Sarge, right there. So you never know who's going to call. Let's get down to brass tacks. Let's talk about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And some big-time news happened with Tom Brady basically doing some great things for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, freeing up $9 million. Your thoughts and what this could lead to eventually, possibly a signing of Rob Gronkowski and, of course, Ndamukong Suh, right?
Absolutely. And again, it's nice to see that he restructured the contract for that to happen.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be – Peter, I'd like to see how they restructured his contract unless they're going to pay him deferred money down the road. And again, I don't know if you can do that if you're not on the roster for that year. So
right.
It's I don't know. He's not taking less money. That's for sure. But it's being I got a feeling it's being reevaluated and restructured. So maybe it's in the form of a bonus that he can get for just like breathing or something, but it's down the road where it's a bonus, where it's not, something where he's going to get salary for. And basically what it's doing is it's, stealing from Peter to pay Paul. But it's Pierre Paul. I thought you'd like that one, Peter.
I like that one. I definitely like that one. That's very, very good there, my friend. Let me go ahead and give you a yes on that.
Yes!
Good job.
Oh, man.
Yes. I'm upgrading here. I got all
I like that. I like that.
Okay.
Right there. Let's go out to Todd Bowles. He had this to say. He said there's a few kinks to work out as the Bucs move forward this offseason. He says it's up in the air right now, and I think it kind of reminds me in the situation where it came out of nowhere. Tom Brady, of course, picked the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in free agency, and then a couple of days before the draft, they traded for a Gronkowski. Could you see them waiting after the draft to do this, to basically play their cards to their vest?
Peter, I've got a feeling, and I wrote this. In fact, I went on line last night, and in our Bucks update, I basically said, okay, look, Gronkowski, Ndamukong Suh, Jason Pierre-Paul, they got to make decisions. And I got a strange feeling that a lot of conversation has happened between the Bucks and the agents for those three players. I got a strong suspicion that they have an idea as to what's going on to happen. And I don't see Gronk coming in before August at the earliest.
Wow.
Maybe not even until September, October. I think the big thing the Bucks have to figure out is, where is Chris Godwin in his rehab? Is he going to – and Peter, I would not be surprised to see him not be ready to play. Maybe put him on the PUP list right coming out in training camp. So that means 6 weeks. So that takes you 2 weeks into the season. But no one knows how those things work. That's the thing. We see guys come back in 6 months, 8 months. Peterson came back, and we got guys like with the Orlando Magic.
Jonathan Isaac, yeah.
Jonathan Isaac, he's 2 years into it. So it all depends on how bad you shred that tendon.
Well, and it does. And look, if we're going to buy this, if we're going to go ahead and subscribe to this theory, because Booker McFarland, who was on, 620, 95.3 FM, was saying he doesn't expect Godwin to play until Thanksgiving. So let me figure this out here. You got the 27th pick. There's a possibility that a wide receiver could be on the board like a Treylon Burks. Am I missing something here? You got Tom Brady. Everybody wants to point to offensive line, defensive tackle. But look, if you know Gronkowski and Suh are coming back, at that point, is wide receiver your biggest need? Because at the end of the day, you have Mike Evans and Russell Gage. And then after that, very, very questionable, Leo.
Peter, I'm amazed no one's talking about the tight end.
Right.
They lost O.J. Howard. And everybody talks about how O.J. Howard was, he was coming off an ACL. So, it takes a while for those things to happen. And Peter, if there's one thing I learned, it's one thing I preach to you, you work from the ball out.
Right.
And that's the key. Offensive guard, they may still have to make a decision there as to how that happens.
I'll tell you what, Leo, let me put you in the lobby really quick. Let's go out to Jason Light's comments on this specific subject here. Stand by. Let's go out to Jason Light because we didn't get a chance to play these comments from the presser about Suh and Gronkowski here on the evolution of Sports Talk Television. Enjoy.
Well, it's always fluid adding players to our roster. It doesn't have to be during free agency. Right now we're focused on the draft. There's a lot of time between after the draft and when the season starts. So it's always fluid and, leave the door open on a lot of cases, whether they're, ex-Bucks or have been with us or, players that are on the street. So we'll just always keep, doors open, and we'll always keep constant communication about that. Keep that in mind, but you also never really want to push a need or a perceived need too high up. And that's where you start making mistakes.
All right, so welcome back to the Evolution. Let's come out to Leo Haggerty, former scout here of Amped Up Sports, Night Sports Productions. What does he mean by that? Go ahead and kind of, talk about, expound a little bit about Jason Light and what he was saying at that press conference last week.
Peter, goes back to the question I asked him. Do you trust your board, or do you start making some interesting maneuvers to get a player of need? And he said, trust your board. You can't expand it because it'll hurt you down the road. Now, again, Peter, the big thing is if you're there at 28 where they're at, and you've got people at 16, 17, and 18 that are still on the board. If you have 18, that's fine. 17, 16, you're not making a reach. But if you're going all the way down, if you got somebody on the board at 16 and you go down to 26, now you got a problem, because now you're reaching for somebody who you didn't think they had. So that's important.
Well, it's important, and absolutely. And look, the only tight ends you have on this roster right now are Cam Braid and Cody McElroy. I mean, that's nothing to write home about. They just added a defensive tackle you're familiar with from USF, Dedren Senin. I believe I'm getting his name correct. I mean, defensive tackle there, to me, whether you sign Sue or not, is a need. And if you can get a Devontae Wyatt at 27, that's what you have to get, in my opinion. I mean, you've already filled the guard position. You traded for Shaq Mason. You have Aaron Stinney. You have Robert Hansey, who you drafted in the 3rd round from Notre Dame. To me, you're set at offensive line. Or am I making too much of this? If you do have an offensive lineman on the board, you would go with the Zion Johnson or possibly a Green from Texas A&M.
Yeah, Peter, again, it's where they perceive the need. And again, you don't perceive the need over the ability. That's what Jason Light is basically saying, that, we're going to rate these players as to how we think they are. 1 to 32 on that first round, on that first day.
Sure.
And again, Peter, we can't throw this out either. The fact that the Bucs at 28, if there's 6 or more players still on the board above 28.
Well, 27.
Why not,
I want to correct you. 27.
What, 27. Why not trade out?
Mm-hmm.
Why not go to the 2nd round, pick up another 2nd or 3rd round pick? That makes sense, because, again, they don't have a whole lot of money to pay these guys. They may be forced to move out of the 1st round just so they don't have to pay that money for a 1st round talent. And again, it makes sense, Peter, if you've got 8 or 9 people on your board above 27.
Yeah.
And there's somebody who wants to come up to 27. That's the important thing.
Well, I think it comes down to quarterbacks. We're on with the legend himself, Leo Haggerty, former coach, scout, and now media member of Amped Up Sports and Night Sports Productions. It's the Sports Web. I'm your host, Peter Blake, giving you something to think about. It always goes back to quarterbacks. This is not the quarterback class, although I'll tell you what, let's go ahead, hold that thought. Let's go out to the phone lines, because I asked for him tonight if you have any questions for the legend himself, Leo Haggerty. Welcome to the Evolution. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Oh, this is Blackie. What's up, Pewter?
What's going on, buddy? How you doing? He always calls me Pewter Blake. I love that nickname, Mr. Blackie from Georgia. Health-wise, how you doing? You're on with the legend himself, Leo Haggerty.
Hey, we're doing good, and I just happened to click on, and I agree with Leo. I think that the thing that we need to think about doing is trade back out of that 27 spot, get you another 2nd round draft pick, and then you can get you a good defensive tackle, a good tight end. Trey McBride is somebody I like in the 2nd round out of Colorado State, and you're not going to have to pay them the 1st round money.
Leo, going back to trading down, we've heard from Adam Schefter today that a lot of teams are not considering trading up; they're considering trading down. So with that trend, and with the Bucs only having 6 draft picks, do you think that's more of a possibility than trading up at this point?
Yeah, and again, Peter, unless there's somebody like the Bucks at 27 and there's somebody on their board that's at 6, 7, or 8, then you may want to think about going up. But here's the problem. You've got 6 teams with 2 picks in the first round. How are you going to sign those folks? That's going to be a major financial burden. It's almost like an albatross. So look for them to try to trade out one of those picks or to trade up and use those 2 picks to become one.
Let me go out to Blackie here. I kind of turned down your TV there if you could for me, buddy. I appreciate the call as always. But hey, my friend, who would you like to see them if they do trade out of that pick? Who did you like to see them select? That being your favorite team, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, which, by the way, happy 48th birthday from yesterday. Go ahead.
I'm still running through my head who I really, really would like them to do, but I really think, if we could find somebody to trade back, because I think, like he brought up the 6 teams with two picks in the first round.
Sure.
I think there's going to be a situation where teams start reaching for players out of panic alone because these other teams have these, there's just a lot of needs this year, it seems like, for everybody. And I just would like to find somebody to step back, maybe get an extra second, maybe a third. The only person I'm really, my top player this year, I like Trey McBride out of Colorado State.
Okay.
Tight end. I would love to see him join us. I was talking to somebody the other day and they kind of thought he was a lot like Drake, but I just don't. I think he's his own guy. I think he's got great hands, great route running.
Right.
He's a good blocker. So,
Leo, what do you see out of McBride? Hold on, Blackie. What do you see out of McBride? Is he what the Bucs envision as a tight end? Not only can he block, but also make plays in the passing game?
Yeah, they need that dual threat tight end, the one that is not afraid to stick his nose in and block, and is also can get down the middle and catch those passes in that intermediate to long zones.
All right, like it, Blackie. Anything else, buddy?
That's it, buddy.
Hey, you don't be a stranger, all right, man? I'll give you the Byron Leftwich.
How about them Bucks, baby?
I'll give you the Ric Flair. Appreciate the call. Use that second call anytime you like, my friend. All right,
Yes,
4 days.
sir. Thank you.
All right, Blackie, there you go. Blackie right there out of Georgia. Open phone line, 727-255-0391 at 727-255-0391. On with the legend himself, former Coach Scout and now media member of Amped Up Sports, Night Sports Productions, Mr. Leo Haggerty, with all your questions here. We'll go out to the comments in just a moment. But let's go out to a rumor that won't die. According to former Tampa Bay Buccaneer quarterback Chris Sims, he says the Dolphins were going to trade a second-round pick to Tampa Bay to get Brady. The Bucs weren't going to hold him hostage. Sean Payton and the Saints, they were going to trade a first-round pick to get that deal done. He also confirmed on a God Bless Football podcast, God bless if I never hear this rumor again. I mean, I get it. The Bucs weren't going to hold Brady hostage if they were, assuming to trade him. But for a second-round pick, come on, Leo. I got oceanfront property in Arizona, if you believe that.
I'm with you, Peter. That they weren't going to hold him hostage, but they weren't going to give him away. As Bruce Arians said, bad business. And that's what it would be. I mean, you just saw the Bears give away 2 for Deshaun Watson. I think it would have cost it would cost anybody 2 for Tom Brady.
Right.
That's bottom line.
I mean, and let's go around the NFL a little bit. The rumors making the rounds, and like you said, it's always about misinformation. It's the misinformation season. Supposedly, the Jacksonville Jaguars are not going to go with Aiden Hutchinson, the defensive end from Michigan. They're going to go after Trayvon Walker from Georgia. Is this a mistake? And you look at Trent Baalke. I was reading this statistic. He has had, it was astonishing how bad his team's drafts were under his watch. And as unreal as it is, 41% of Trent Baalke, who is the general manager of the Jacksonville Jaguars right now and still has a job, 41% of his selections didn't last 7 years on the team. He was the biggest catalyst for the downfall and rebuild of the dominant Jim Harbaugh Niners. Walker at number 1. I get it. He's got upside, but he is nowhere near the finished product as Hutchinson. Am I missing something here? Help me out.
Peter, I think you're going to end up flipping a coin for the number 1 pick.
Wow.
I don't think there's one guy that is head and shoulders above everybody else. And again, COVID is a problem to view these guys, especially what they did in the Big Ten and the Pac-12. It's just, they didn't play football the year before. They played like 4, 5, 6 games, maybe. Some of them played less. I mean, Joe Tryon, he didn't play a game. He sat out.
Right.
So again, we don't know what we're going to see from these guys. And again, when Michigan played there, wasn't a factor. And again, it's hard to point on one guy because it takes 11 to play the game. But I still think you're seeing misinformation come out. I wouldn't be surprised to see Jacksonville trade that pick, only because to move down to 3 or 4 or 5.
Right.
And again, Peter, here's how it works. People have to understand this.
Okay.
When you go on the clock, you're going to get a call. You're going to get a call from one team, and they say, who are you going to take? And if you say the right name, they'll say, well, hey, we want to trade such and such, so-and-so, or these draft picks. If you say the wrong name, they say, hey, great, good luck. and that's usually what happens when you see trades. It's because teams have said, okay, I'm going to take this guy. Well, that's the guy they want. So you may be seeing some, not misinformation, but some subterfuge. Boy, Peter, I was waiting to get that one in.
You are so full of it tonight. Good stuff there. Legend Leo Haggerty himself. You look at Hutchinson's statistics, 14 sacks last year, 16.5 for loss, forced 2 fumbles, batted down 3 passes at the line of scrimmage. I've said this. He reminds me of Joey Bosa. Not athletically gifted, but can just get it done and cause havoc. Walker, of course, has, the higher ceiling, if you will. 9.5 sacks in his career, 13 tackles for a loss in his career, his whole career. And you're going off of 1 year with Hutchinson, who seems like he's the finished product. So with that being said, take us behind the curtain a little bit. What is Trent Baalke thinking if he's going with a Walker over a guy that seems like a finished product in a Hutchinson?
Speed, and more speed, Peter. That's what you're selling when you're an edge rusher.
Right.
How fast can you get off the corner? And again, let's go back to the Buccaneers game with the Rams.
Mm-hmm.
What a great game plan by the Rams. They ghost-9'd their ends. And what that means is they didn't just have them in a 9 technique, which is outside shoulder of the tight end.
Sure.
They didn't just have them in a wide 9, which would be outside, head up on another tight end. They had them out past that in what we call a ghost 9, which means they'd be 2 players outside the tackle. Well, guess what? They came hard. And give Raheem Morris a lot of credit.
Sure.
They came hard. And again, from an athletic standpoint, it's always a mismatch. The defensive end in the NFL is going to be a faster, better athlete than an offensive tackle. And this is why Tristan Wirfs, his loss was such a big loss to the Buccaneers, because he's one of those few guys that can actually be athletic enough to do that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're absolutely right. I tell you what, let's read this question here from Blackie. The Jags owner wants Hutchinson. The GM wants Walker. Most likely, Shad Khan wins out on that, right?
Oh, the owner always wins out. And again, that's the thing. The owner will always come in and the general manager will say, here's what I want to take. No, you're taking this guy.
I know you're watching Raw right now, but I tell you right now, the Lightning have been playing Raw lately with the 22 goals they're scoring. I mean, they're really on a streak right now. And the first time they visited the White House, your thoughts on this Tampa Bay Lightning team, who, by the way, we covered not only on Saturday night, but together on Thursday night.
Yeah, Peter, I'm sneaking a peek here at the NBA. It's kind of interesting.
Right.
It looks like the Nets are going to get swept, which is crazy.
How disappointing is that? I mean, you look at 2 years ago, you have Harden, You have Kyrie Irving, you have KD. You think, obviously you're going to get further than where you've gone at this point. You haven't been able to win an NBA championship. And to compound things, you get a guy, a stiff like Ben Simmons, who has absolutely quit on every team that he's been a part of. How does this guy still get paid money by the National Basketball Association? I don't get it.
I thought it was the worst pick in the world for the 76ers to take a guy that couldn't shoot. And now the Nets have not only a guy that can't shoot but won't play, and they can't even spell defense, more or less play it up in Brooklyn. It's amazing.
The way it's working out right now, could you see Boston versus Milwaukee going on and winning the whole thing?
Peter, it all depends on Chris Middleton. If Chris Middleton could come back, yeah, but that's a big hole to fill. And again, Peter, I did my daily memo today.
Yeah.
And I said that the one thing you can't handicap, and Harry, I know you're listening to this.
Yep.
You can't handicap injuries. Look what's going on. Devin Booker gets hurt. All of a sudden, Phoenix
loss. Yep.
Phoenix is in a dogfight now with the Pelicans. Milwaukee may be able to survive that, but if they have to play without Chris Middleton in that second round against Boston, that could get nasty.
That could definitely get nasty. Leo Haggerty, the legend himself. Go ahead and promote yourself here on Amped Up Sports, my friend.
Peter, we're going to be out at the Lightning game tomorrow night, so we'll be shooting almost live with the post game. And you're right. The Lightning are in fuego. They're on fire and at the right time. And Peter, we've said this, you and I, that, hey, this team knows what they need to do, and they know when they need to push the button to get ready, and they're doing it.
Absolutely, they're doing it, and I tell you right now, their superstars are not only hot. Stamkos with another 2 goals last night. Kucherov, even the new kid, Simon, chipped in. Good stuff there, Leo Haggerty. And who knows where we're going to be on Thursday night. We got a little surprise, but we'll see what happens, my friend. All right, thanks a lot for the time here on the Sports Web, all right?
Absolutely. Have a good night, Peter.
All right, there you go. Leo Haggerty himself, the legend, former coach scout, and now media member of Amped Up Sports and Night Sports Productions. I tell you what, let's go out to this guy. I got a little soundbite for him. Here we go.
How about them Bucks, baby?
Let's go out to JC Allen, a Pewter Report. Welcome to the Evolution, 4 days away from the draft. And, of course, I had to get you on here. I know you're excited. And, oh, by the way, it's kind of our anniversary. This is when you started doing the Sports Web during the draft time. Welcome to the Evolution, my friend.
Hey, happy to be here as always. And yeah, I mean, my first live appearance, I guess, if you want to say on camera, was during the mock draft we did. I did a stress test that popped up on my memories. Man, I was a mess there. I have grown tremendously since then on the microphone. But yeah, I mean, that mock draft, I brought the heat. I came with it with the what did I take? Jalen Hurts, the Pats at 21 or something like that.
You did. Yes.
And
yes.
The Celtics took the brooms out to the Nets. Sweep them.
Yeah, it's looking like that, and it's really disappointing if you're an NBA fan to have a sweep. But I know Celtics fans, Boston right now is a very scary team. You know, Jason Tatum is growing right before our eyes. And I tell you right now, let's talk about the NFL and the draft a little bit, especially the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. What do you make of this situation with freeing up a $9 million? Eventually, do you think, JC, that they're going to get something done with Gronk and Sue?
Yeah, definitely. Gronk is trying to miss as much practice time as he can. He's got some stuff off the field too going on, and he doesn't want to have to be tied down to commitments on, being there for the offseason program, OTAs, minicamp, mandatory minicamp. He'll skip all that. He'll be back for training camp. I have no doubt in my mind he'll be back. First of all, one of the biggest reasons there too, I think, is because Brady's been talking about 45. I don't think he plays another season after this. I think this is it. This is his last hurrah. So he probably retires this year, which means it'll be probably Gronk's last year too. And the prospect of them going into the Hall of Fame together, I think is just too great for him to just sit out a year, and just call it a quits a year early than Tom. I think they would love to go in together as the best tandem in history, best quarterback, best tight end in the game to ever do it. So I think he's back. Sue, I think I think Sue's probably back. A lot of it is probably money. We know Sue is a very savvy businessman. He's not going to come back for anything less than what he thinks he's worth. And he put up 6 sacks last year, and he's been a heck of a player. He hasn't really had any drop off for his age. He's one of the oldest defensive linemen in the game right now. So I think it really depends too on what happens on Thursday. And right now there's no point of bargaining with him. But if, say, you get a guy like Devontae Wyatt or Jordan Davis or Logan Hall or Perion Winfrey, one of those guys, you draft them and then you go back to him and say, hey, we got this guy. We want you back. We want you part of this, but we only have this much to pay. And maybe it kind of breaks up a little bit and they're able to get him at a cheaper price than what he currently is asking now. But I think in the long run, both of those guys are back. This team is raring up for a Super Bowl. If you look at the landscape of the NFC right now, it's a pretty easy. It looks like it's not easy because it's parity any given Sunday.
Parity is prevalent, yes.
But it looks like a very nice path for the Bucs to make the NFC Championship game.
All right, I want to go out to Tom Brady, and then we'll go out to some of these questions. If you do have a question for JC Allen, up here to report 727-255-0391. It's 727-255-0391. Brady is asked about playing until he's 50 again from Complex. I don't know. I guess it's a music magazine. I does interviews now for that. It's a great question. There's 2 answers to that. I do think I could play till 50, but I don't think I will just because I know the commitment that it takes. I know the commitment that it takes for me at 44 and 45. I worked out today. It's a big commitment, and I'm away from my 14-year-old son, my 12-year-old son, and my 9-year-old daughter, and that they deserve my time and energy. They're getting older. I want to be there for my son's football games, lacrosse games, and basketball games. He'll be a freshman this year in high school. He goes to school in New York City, and that's a big part of my life. I want to win on the field, but I want to win off the field. With that being said, the rumor that will not go away, according to former Buccaneer quarterback Chris Sims, the Bucs. Right, exactly. That's what I think too. The Bucs were willing to trade a second-round pick, or the Dolphins were going to ask for a second-round pick for Tom Brady and trade a first-round pick for Sean Payton. Oh, by the way, the supposed friction between B.A. and Tom Brady. Tom Brady is buying B.A. a $50,000 watch. You don't buy $50,000 watches for guys that you hate. Make some sense of this, JC, please.
There's no sense to be made from it. It's Pro Football Talk, Florio, Chris Sims, Boston media, clicks, reactions, people tuning in to their show. That's all it is. It's all it is. It's just cheap journalism at its finest.
Okay, there you go. So
I don't want to embellish on it because there's a reason why Pewter Report has not put a story out about it, has not even entertained it, has not asked questions about it in media sessions. It's a joke. It's a joke.
All right, let's talk about 27 at this point. We've had discussions about it. You went to the presser last week as well as our guy, Leo Haggerty of Amped Up Sports. What do you get out of it? I get it. I know Jason Light is playing some poker, but what's your sense here what the Bucs could do at 27? I feel like offensive line is off the table. Maybe I'm wrong about this, but look, when you invest a premium pick in a Robert Hansey out of Notre Dame, who not only can play the center position, but also the guard, you re-signed an Aaron Stinney, you have a Nick Leverett who's been on the sports web before when he first started out. There you go. It seems like you're pretty good at the offensive line situation, especially for trading with the Shaq Mason, who's only like 28 years old. So to me, in my opinion, offensive line is off the table. So what is on the table?
I wouldn't take offensive line necessarily off the table. I think I've narrowed my list down to about 7 guys that I think they could take in the first round. And one of those guys is an offensive lineman, Zion Johnson out of Boston College. I think he is a guy that you plug into that left side and he's good to go, flying out the gates. The one thing about Zion Johnson, though, is then it pushes somebody else off the roster. And with a guy like Nick Leverett, who probably, who might be that casualty, who can play multiple spots in the interior and the exterior, it might not be something they want to do. And there's also the chance, too, that he comes in and Hansey beats him, right? Or Stinney beats him out. And now you've got a guy, you have an offensive guard who got, and that's not saying he could overtake that that role, 4 or 5 weeks into the season. But, you risk the chance with an interior offensive lineman that he doesn't see the field for the entire year. And that's something I don't know if the Bucs necessarily want to do. I think they do like him. Obviously had a formal visit with him at the combine. I think he is the best interior offensive lineman in this draft. Like I said, plug and play guy, put him on that line next 4 or 5 years 5 years until his contract up. You re-sign him. He's a 10-year guy. But the problem is he might not see the field, and you can't spend a premium pick on someone who might not see the field. And that leads me to the other guy who I have in consideration is David Ajabo, the defensive end from Michigan. I know they like him. They've done their due diligence. He's got an Achilles injury. He's probably not going to see the field. But Shaq Barrett's getting up there. He's going to be 30. He's only got 2 years left on his deal after this. The thought of pairing him with Joe Tryon-Shoyinka for years to come is very appetizing. But again, another guy who's not going to see the field, which brings me to the rest of the group there. And I think, looking at it, I don't think Chris Olave is going to be on the board, but I do think Traylon Burks, wide receiver out of Arkansas, could be there. And I think that's a guy that they've brought in for a top 30 visit. The guy hunts boars in his spare time with his bare hands and a knife.
Well, him and Devin White can hang out. I mean, they can both hang out in the off season. I mean, Devin can ride horses. He can hunt boars. I mean, and you look at his size, 6'2", 6'3". He's deceptively fast. And I'm not going to say Mike Evans' size because to me, that's more Drake London from USC.
Right.
I feel like, going into this situation, and, Leo has mentioned it. Other guys have mentioned it. Chris Godwin is not going to be 100%. When is he going to play? Does it make sense to go into the season knowing you have Tom Brady, knowing that window could be closed after next year, and you have Mike Evans and Russell Gage? And then after that, you have Scotty Miller, Tyler Johnson, I mean, you look at last year, why not draft a wide receiver at 27 or possibly trade up to get an Olave? I know the Bucs only have 6 draft picks, but if you're going all in, would you consider the Bucs possibly dealing a first-round pick in order to get up a few spots to get a wide receiver to make a difference this year?
I don't know if they're going to actually, trade up because they have so few picks. And, we've heard it from Jason Light. It's very heavy in the middle rounds. I went to the Bruce Arians Family Foundation golf tournament today and spoke with Byron Leftwich, spoke with Todd Bowles, the new head coach, and they both reiterated that it's got some really good depth and good players in the middle rounds. So I don't think you want to trade up and you look at a deal, maybe you're 91 to move up, into the early 20s or to move up a few spots. You're giving up 133, your 4th round pick. I don't know if that's something they want to do. I think that Traylon Burks has a possibility to be there at 27. He's got inside, outside versatility. He's not a burner, but his second 20 is a lot faster than his first 20. He's got the ability to run away. He's got some Debo-like game to him. You can use him out of the backfield as well. If I was going to take a wide receiver, I think he's probably got the highest upside out of any wide receiver. Jameson Williams right there next to him. I really like his game, and I think that would be a great pick to have because you mentioned it. Chris Godwin, even if he's ready to go week 1, we know that usually it takes at least a couple games, half a season for a guy who's torn his ACL to come back and be fully what they were, have that full confidence in cutting, full confidence and full strength and all their, their mobility and moves. And while everything sounds good about his progression from his surgery and his ACL rehab, you never know. And you mentioned the names right after him. That doesn't mean they can't go out and sign a veteran guy. That doesn't mean they can't grab a guy in the 3rd round, maybe an Alec Pierce who's got some inside outside versatility. But I think if he's there at 27, he's a name they're going to stare at and they're going to say, is this the guy? And there's also other guys there. I mean, he's a guy that, and it leads me back to my point with Ajabo and Zion Johnson. You can get him on the field, even if Chris is good to go. There's plenty of packages and ways to get him involved in a rotational aspect, and that's the same case with the other guys who I think are options there. And one of those guys is going to be safety Lewis Seen from Georgia. This guy is a hard hitter, but he can play well in coverage as well. He does a nice job covering tight ends. And we know that they lost Jordan Whitehead, brought in Keanu Neal, but Keanu Neal's had an extensive injury history.
Yeah.
And also he's on a 1-year deal. Logan Ryan, who people keep calling a free safety, and well, he can play free safety. I think he was more brought in here to challenge SMB and play some slot and maybe just kind of be that veteran, mentor to the cornerback room. We saw how well, once they were all healthy, they communicated and they spoke. Of course, Cooper Kupp is an animal. He's the best wide receiver in the game. But, otherwise, with Richard Sherman there, finally having that veteran presence, and Logan Ryan's seen it all, done it all. He's played multiple positions. So I think having him back there is going to be a huge benefit. But I think when you get Lewis Cine, you got a guy who you can pair right next to Antoine Winfield Jr. for the foreseeable future. Another thing about having Lewis Cine there at strong safety is you don't have to ask that of Antoine Winfield. That was one of the question marks is, with Mike Edwards and then bringing in Logan Ryan before Keanu Neal is, well, does that mean we're going to see Antoine Winfield more at strong safety? And while I think he can do well and play that, he's a very interchangeable safety. He made the Pro Bowl last year at free safety. He's on an all-pro trajectory at all free safety. You don't really want to mess that up, in my opinion.
No, and I think
George would be a good choice as well.
And see, look, I think it's certainly a possibility. We're on with JC Allen of Pewter Report here on the Evolution of Sports Talk Television. It's the Sports Web live here on I Love St. Pete, the hub, and Amped Up Sports. I'm your host, Peter Blake, giving you something to think about. I mean, look, you have Mike Edwards. I get he's coming into a contract year. You sign Logan Ryan, whether he's a corner or a safety. It seems like you're pretty good in that situation. What I look at is defensive tackle, and I get it. You may re-sign a Sue, but Sue's not getting any younger. He's 35 years old, and even though he's still productive, what do you have for the future? I get it. You have Nacho, but Nacho to me is a rotational player. You have that luxury. You have William Golston. He's only a 1-year contract. To me, if a Devontae Wyatt is on the board, even a Jordan Davis, and I don't think he is, because what you're hearing is, Davis could go top 10. He could go 20, 25. Who knows at this point? But there are some red flags about Wyatt. Have you heard about those red flags? And do you think that scares the Bucs away from taking him at 27 if he is indeed on the board?
Yeah, I mean, let's stay in that defense. Lewis Cine, Georgia, Jordan Davis, Devontae Wyatt, Georgia. Jordan Davis, I think, will be gone. But even if he was, it's not what you're looking for, right? He's a run stuffer. Bruce Arians, we know this defense wants to get quicker on the inside with their defensive tackle. And I just don't think that a guy like Jordan Davis displays that. He's more of a big run stuffer. Can he push the pile back to the quarterback? Yeah, but he's not going to use speed. I don't care how he tested to do it. Devontae Wyatt is another question. Potential fit for the Bucs at 27. I don't think they've ruled him off their board. There have been character concerns in the past, some family domestic issues that were kind of, swept under the rug. There might have been some more issues that they've learned about as well. But as far as Devontae Wyatt, one of the biggest things that scare you, yeah, he tested great. But like most of those Georgia defensive and edge players with a Trayvon Walker, with a Jordan Davis, with a Devontae Wyatt, where was the production? This guy had 5 sacks in 4 years. 5 sacks in 4 years. Yeah. And, but because this class is so weak, again, defensive tackle class is not strong, even with Jordan Davis being the number 1 guy or Devontae Wyatt, however, whatever your cup of tea is, it's just a weak class in general. I do think there are players available that the Bucs could target. They brought in Perion Winfrey from Oklahoma for a top 30 visit. He's more of a speedier guy. And the guy who I really like too, and I've been on him since day one, and in my Bucs battle plan before free agency even ever started, I had Logan Hall from Houston as their number 1 pick. Not at 27. I had them trade back to the 40s, and I still think that's a possibility. Our Pewter Report mock just came out, our final 7-round predictive mock, and we have the Bucs taking Logan Hall at 27 with a caveat that they could potentially trade down. But I've heard some things about him that he could be moving up the board and sneak into that first round. And I wouldn't be surprised if one of those teams with the Bucs. This guy's got inside outside versatility, 3 tech, 5 tech, played a little bit of edge, 6.5 sacks last year. He tends to play with a little bit high of a pad level, which can be, not the best issue. You can get pushed off blocks. And he doesn't really have edge agility. But he reminds me, and he reminds us a lot of William Golston. And William Golston is one of those guys who, He's a lunch pail player, puts his head down, does the dirty work, strong against the run. We've seen him improve as a pass rusher, especially since going into this 3-4 defense. And in his third year with Todd Bowles last year, he had 5 sacks, 5.5 sacks, I believe. So we saw that uptick in production as well. And remember, Will Golston's on a 1-year deal. So while everyone's thinking, oh, how do we replace Sue? How do we replace Sue? We need a guy to get Sue. Well, he's got that ability to play 3 tech, and he's got that ability to play 5 tech. So he can sub in for both of those guys this year. Get creative. Bowles put Vita Vea on the edge last year a couple times.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, you can put this guy, Logan Hall, on the edge as well. And I think that next season, if Will Golston ends up walking away, you never know. He could be back. They could win a championship, and he could decide to call it a career. I know he's been adamant he doesn't want to play anywhere but Tampa. He had multiple offers. Him signing a 1-year deal was kind of interesting in that aspect, because I thought he would have got signed to at least a 2 or 3-year deal. But this is a guy who can move over for him. And when next year, when there's a better class that looks to be deeper at defensive tackle, that's when you get your Sue replacement. And now you have your guy, you have youth on the defensive line in a guy with Logan Hall. Again, I don't think Devontae Wyatt's off their board. I think they'll strongly consider him. He's one of my guys that I think they are targeting and will be a guy that they look very strong at if he's there. But I'm not sure if he's there. You know, like I said, this is a weak class at DT. There's plenty of teams in front of him that could use him, especially if Jordan Davis goes as high as 14. I think it's 14. No, yeah. 14 to Baltimore, which has been projected.
Wow.
That means Devontae Wyatt could come off the board to a team like the Chargers, to a team like Pittsburgh, heck, to even a team like Buffalo. So, I mean, then you're looking at okay, do we want a guy like Logan Hall? Do we feel like we can, like 27 is a good value pick for him? We know what he can do for us. They try to move back, but that's one of the biggest question marks, because we've heard from not just the Bucs team, but teams all around the league have been praising this middle round class because there's so much depth there. And part of that, one of the good things that came from COVID was because of the COVID shortened year or canceled year for a lot of these teams, colleges were granted to have, they let their seniors have a super senior season, or redshirted sophomores would come back again for their redshirt junior year, and et cetera along those lines. So it's created this much more depth. Now I only have like 12 to 14 first round grades on this draft. Is about 40 second round grades. So, you know, if the Bucs can find a way to move back, even if it's the 32, 33, 36, get some more value and grab a guy like Logan Hall, that in my mind would be perfect. Another option they can go for, we don't know Gronk, what he's doing. And it sounds crazy, but if Logan Hall is off the board or they want to go in a different direction, Colorado State's Trey McBride could also be another guy that they could look at 20, at earliest 27.
Wow.
I mean, you're looking at the third defensive tackle or the first tight end. He's got the full package. He's an absolute Bucs fit. Everything they're looking for: catching, receiving, work ethic, character. He's got everything. It's so weird because doing my own projections, all our Pewter Report projections, looking at all the other projections, there's so many ranges of outcomes. Some people have him at 60. They could. Dane Brugler, one of the most respected guys, the beast right there. My handbook to the draft. He's got him going to the Bucs at 60, so he could be there. They could have to trade up for him from 60, but that would most likely mean trading back to gain more assets, because if you do give up like a 4th round pick, now you're out your 4th, and now you're waiting from 91 all the way to 241. So it's going to be really interesting to see what they do. But those are the guys who I think they'll lock onto and consider in that first round. And then the second, third round, there's other players too that they could look at. But if I'm looking at the first round right now, my money.
Yeah, because this is a question from, I believe this is David right here, David Moser. JC, who do you think we take in the first round? Right now, they're on the clock, and it's going to be probably about 11:30 until they're on the clock on Thursday night, JC. So who do you think they take?
If they...
It's tough, right? I love it.
With the 27th pick in the NFL draft, the Buccaneers, I think, will select, if they can't trade down, I think they'll go with Lewis Cine, safety from Georgia.
See, and I knew this because you were kind of alluding to it, and it does make somewhat sense from the Bucs standpoint of losing a Jordan Whitehead. Although you kind of wonder if they do take him, how much confidence do they have in the previous third-round pick and in Edwards? Let's keep on.
I think Edwards is a different safety. He's more of that. We've seen teams. Look at the Patriots. They've got, Devin McCourty. They brought Jabril Peppers. They've got Adrian Wilson. They've got Kyle Duggar that they drafted. They've got 4 safeties that they're rotating. The Bucs we saw last year like to rotate 3 safeties in. So having that, I think that gives you that opportunity. It rounds out your safety room with guys for the now and guys for the future. I think ideally they would like to move back from that pick and grab a guy like Logan Hall. I think Logan Hall is perhaps higher on their board than Devontae Wyatt because some of the character concerns, the production, and the lack of flexibility where he's more of a true 3 tech. You can use Logan Hall in a variety of ways. But I think they'd feel more comfortable being able to move back, even if it's a few spots. You got to think, the Kansas City Chiefs want to move back, right? From one of those first round picks. It's been reported they're actively trying to trade back. A lot of teams are trying to trade back, and the Bucs are right ahead of them. Same thing with Green Bay. One of those wide receivers are there. Green Bay didn't take a wide receiver with their first pick. Kansas City's taking a wide receiver, and you want to start that run on wide receivers before Green Bay and Kansas City gets there. That could be an opportunity for teams to move up. A team like Detroit, a team like Houston, one of those teams to say, all right, let's move up, and let's move up and grab one of those guys. Quarterback is another position. If Matt Corral or Desmond Ridder are sitting there, and you're a team that feels like if we don't get ahead of Kansas City or Green Bay's second first round pick, then we might lose out to another team that's trying to do the same thing, whether that's Detroit at 32 that wants to move up, whether it's Detroit at 34 that wants to get a third first round pick with a 5th-year option, whether that's any of those Houston again wants to grab a quarterback for competition with Davis Mills, right, or one of the other teams. I think that 27 spot becomes a very attractive spot because you're not going to pay as much as you would for 26, 25, and you're leapfrogging Green Bay's second first-round pick, and you're leapfrogging Kansas City's both first-round picks, and one of those teams would be susceptible to trading back because they already have a first-rounder. That way you get ahead of them just in case you feel like any other teams may be looking to trade back up in the first round. The problem is first-round grades. There's not a lot of them, so who wants to do that? Who wants to give up those valuable middle-round picks this year? And as Jason Light said, in the press conference, he's always tried to grab future picks. Is that something he looks for too and says, all right, you don't want to give up, you don't want to give up your third. All right, give me a 5th. Let's bridge that gap from 133 to 248, and we'll have a 5th round, and give me a 2nd round next year or a 3rd round next year. And now they have extra ammo to move up. They bridge that gap between the 4th and 7th rounds, and they also move back, and they are able to grab a guy like Logan Hall as well.
All right, let's go out to Christopher Cole. Which player rises and which player falls? You heard a lot about Kyle Hamilton, the safety out of Notre Dame. I don't know why. I think it's more of a need at the end of the day, and it's not a run on quarterbacks. It's actually a run on wide receivers. Is that how you see it? Is that the player that kind of falls, and who's the player that rises? To me, Trayvon Walker being the number 1 pick of the Jacksonville Jaguars, that has to be an absolute bombshell if that happens, especially with Hutchinson on the board.
Yeah, Trayvon Walker, all it takes is a GM to fall in love. And that's what happens with quarterbacks as well, right? This is obviously a weak quarterback class. We know that. We know Kyle Trask and Davis Mills probably would have been the top quarterbacks in this class if they stayed and came out next year. But when you look at Trayvon Walker, it's all about preference. And if you look at Trent Baalke's history, he likes those guys. He doesn't really care about the production. He likes the traits. Let me see what the traits are. I think, every GM and every coach can fix every player. Every player.
He has not worked out to his favor. There's
Smith, though, did work out to his extent. He had off-field issues and alcoholism issues.
Okay.
And hopefully he turned that around in his life. I don't know where he's at now. I know he had a second chance. But I think if you look at that, that's potentially what he could be looking at with a guy like Trayvon Walker. A guy like Aiden Hutchinson is him and Evan Neal. are safe guys. You know what you're getting. Probably a few Pro Bowls out of there. Maybe a second team All Pro, but nothing ever like. No, I don't think they're Hall of Fame Canton careers as well. I think Kayvon Thibodeau is a wild card. How all in is he? We've heard reports about his love for football, love of the game. But again, I mean, it's going to depend on the offense, the scheme, and the system, and the coaching staff that he goes to. And then I think Trayvon Walker is the guy who probably has the most upside if he can put it all together, because he's got that athleticism, that speed, that tenacity, that flexibility. So the way they used him in different formations on the line. So I mean, I get it. It's all about GMs and coaches falling in love with a player, and I think that's might be a player that Trent Baalke has fallen in love with, and if not, I think he still goes in the top 10, maybe even the top 5.
All right, good stuff. One last question, and we'll get you out of here for the night. From Harry, the Greek professional handicapper extraordinaire, 1252 Chicago Sports. Does Josh think 3 quarterbacks will go in the first round? If so, how many in the top 15? Of course, there is a proposition bet out there. 5 quarterbacks go in the first round. JC, over or under how many quarterbacks go in this first round? And we'll get out to Jason Powers on Sports Podcast. Go ahead, Jason.
I do think 3 of them go in the first round. Top 15, I'm not sure. There's been some whispers about Malik Willis to the Lions at 2. I don't think they're going to go there. Yeah, I don't think they'll go there. I think Kenny Pickett is I don't want to say a lock, but pretty damn near close thing to probably be going to the Panthers at 6. And then you've got teams like Atlanta with multiple second-round picks, Seattle with multiple second-round picks, the Jets with multiple picks in this draft, 2 first-round picks, an early second, the Lions, multiple first-round picks and an early second, Houston, if they're not sold, multiple first-round picks and an early second. One of those teams is going to trade back up into this draft. Pittsburgh's a wild card. Could they take Malik Willis if he's there? Could they take a guy like Sam Howell or Matt Corral? Desmond Ridder is a wild card. I think 3 end up going in the first. That 5th-year option is so valuable, especially for quarterbacks. Like, it's so valuable because you get them at less of a dollar sign, 1 more year of control, and less than a monetary amount than you would if you had to franchise tag them. So, I fully expect the team to trade back into the first round, whether that's with the Bucs. Let's hope if you're a Bucs fan, so you can move back and gain some assets, even if it's future picks. Because, like I said, 27, it's a tough spot. You're going to get a good player there. I just don't know if it's as good as a player as what the value would be to move back and get a player of a similar value with gaining extra picks either this year or next year, or potentially even players. Light has never done it. That's one thing. Light has never made a trade with a player involving players in the draft. So it'll be interesting to see if that changes. And word on the street is Kadarius Toney might be on the block. So Bucks can move back from 27 to 36. Maybe throw some late pick swaps or a late pick in there or something like that, and pick up Kadarius Toney. Still keep all their picks in this year's draft while moving around. I think that might be an interesting solution to your 4th wide receiver problem. Oh, and by the way, if Kyle Trask is your quarterback next year, he gets his top weapon in college.
There you go. Makes lots of sense. JC Allen of Pewter Report. Go ahead and promote yourself here on the Evolution.
Yeah, you guys already know I'm over at Pewter Report. We've got lots of content coming out. Our final mock just went out last night, like I said. We've hit the nail on the head multiple years in a row. Our Bucks best bet and positional previews are out right now, starting from quarterback, going all the way to safety. We've got a few more of those coming out. Thursday, I'll have my undrafted free agent Bucks best bets, who I think they could target after undrafted free agency. And we pick a guy from the 1st and 3rd rounds, from the 4th and 7th rounds, who we think the Bucks could target. Our numbers are insane. We've hit at over 40 picks since we started this. We're a little bit dialed in too. Maybe we might know all this stuff. But definitely check that out. And then we're going live. I mean, I know Peter's going live here, but if you're a channel surfer, you want to flip around, we'll be going live from One Buck Place at the Advent Health Center every night. A 7 o'clock start on Thursday, 6 o'clock start on Friday, and a 11 o'clock start on Saturday. So plenty of Buck coverage going on. And we got some great stuff, great content coming out. You guys can follow me at Twitter right right there at JC Allen NFL, your one-stop shop for all Bucks news, whether it's from the Bucks, PFF Bucks, whether it's from, Pewter Report, whether it's my own stuff I'm putting out, whether it's polls, fun, interactive stuff. I got everything you need right there, so definitely check that out. Other than that, Peter, it's always a blast coming on here. It's draft week, baby. I can't wait to see what the Bucks do. I can't wait to see what my parents do. And it's going to be a blast this weekend. And, then we got rookie mini camps. Then we got mandatory mini camps, OTAs. And then before you know it, the way this year has gone so far, it's going to be training camp before you know it, baby.
I hope so. JC Allen, a Pewter Report. Thanks a lot for your time here on the Evolution of Sports Talk Television. All right, my friend?
Anytime, man. I'll talk to you soon.
All right, there you go. JC Allen up, Pewter Report. So there you go. Roger Shue says the draft is boring. Move on to the next topic. Here's your next topic.
Shitter!
All right, let's go on to this guy. He's patiently waiting, so I'm not going to make him wait anymore. Here we go. All right, the power man himself, Mr. Jason Powers, Powers on Sports podcast. We've been killing the draft tonight, 4 days away. Give me your thoughts right now as we speak here on this Monday night on the Evolution. Who do you see the Tampa Bay Buccaneers selecting at number 27? Welcome to the Evolution.
How we doing, Peter Blake? Good to see you again.
Pumped up, man.
Hope the weekend was well.
Yes, it was.
Yeah, good. I saw a good movie over the weekend, Ambulance.
Yeah.
Jake Gyllenhaal. Pretty good movie.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
So who do you like the Bucs at 27?
Couple things. The question is, do you go beef, meaning offensive or defensive lineman, best available guy there? You got to think about, obviously is Sue coming back? I have a feeling they probably have a little bit of an inclination, yay or nay on that. Probably not a definite answer yet with Sue, but probably leaning, hey, he's probably 70-30 going to play, or the other way, who knows? Do you do that, or do you go offensive line? Do you fortify potentially a guard? I know there's some good guards that should be available at the bottom of that first round. Potentially a tackle maybe falls. Or do you go, there's been talk. Do you look at the replacement for a guy like Levante David, a Nakobe Dean kind of guy?
Wow.
A smallish linebacker who can run, a lot of great instincts, comes from a winning program, was a big player at Georgia. I would not be surprised if they kept the pick, if they go Nakobe Dean, Georgia.
Listen to you thinking outside of the box, but this is what I've also heard. Dean could be dropping for some unknown reason. I think, again, it's about need. It's also about, some of the tape not necessarily matching up. Let's go on to Roger Shue. Oh, God, more draft crap. I tell you what, let's go ahead and switch gears. Let's talk about the Tampa Bay Rays taking 2 out of 3 from your Chicago Cubs, and also the Rays.
Yep, sorry, go ahead.
Red Sox. A great week for the Rays now, 9-7. Give me your early thoughts of this Rays baseball team.
I think you're seeing, obviously we talked about at the beginning of the year, the Austin Meadows trade. Kind of we're a little dumbfounded about why they made that trade. I still think batting or, positionally that could be an issue as far as production offensively. You lose Joey Wendell, who went down to the Marlins, another guy that you lose, but a good start for the Rays. The Rays have always kind of been middling that first month or so of the year. I think one note that you've seen out of the Rays that's really a guy that's really started to step forward a little bit, Shane Mcclanahan. Kind of established himself as a big-time pitcher. Maybe not a true number one, but a definite number 2 guy, a reliable guy. I think he's got some Tampa ties. South Florida, he was a pitcher at USF.
Yep.
So I think a guy like Mcclanahan pitched 7 good innings yesterday after giving up 2 in the first to the Red Sox. But again, starting pitching, you got to get some more length out of your starting pitchers. But Mcclanahan stepping forward is a good sign. I'm just curious to see how the offense will sustain itself as we move forward. Franco's playing really well. But again, I want to see offensively how the Rays, obviously, they were no-hit. They no-hit the Red Sox, which is a great feat. But again, to hit a 2-run homer in the bottom of the 10th after no-hitting the team for 9 innings because you can't score, that's a little problematic.
Yeah, definitely problematic. Let's go back to that game the other night. How surprised were you by that? Look, the Rays are down 2-0. You assume after the triple, after it's broken up, they're going to eventually lose that game. And somehow, some way, they find a way and it's KK in a big time manner. And I think a lot of Rays fans criticize him, as they should, because they like to see him hit better than 230 or 250. They like to see him do more on the base pass, but defensively, he's second to none. Talk about KK in that night on Saturday night versus the Red Sox.
No, I mean, Kiermaier's never going to be a big-time offensive player. If he can hit 260, 270 for you, that's what you need. He's the best. He's one of the top probably 3 center fielders in baseball from a defensive perspective. The Rays, obviously, as we know, are very big into run prevention, and that's a big stat in analytics as far as how many runs are you preventing by your defense. They've obviously made the statement that they're going to play defensively. They want to play a good defense and try to win these games 4-3, 5-4 kind of games with a great defensive player. And Kiermaier is never going to be a great offensive player. He does a decent job with some clutch hits time to time, but he's never going to be a big average guy, and he's never going to be a big run producer. But great job. Give him full credit. He came through in the clutch and won the game for the Rays on Saturday afternoon with the clutch 2-run homer in the 10th.
Yeah, absolutely. We're on with Jason Powers, the Power Man himself.
Yeah, baby. Yeah.
Powers on Sports Podcast talking about the Tampa Bay Rays because Roger doesn't want to talk about the draft anymore. But if you want to talk about the draft or have any questions or want to talk about the Tampa Bay Rays, 727-255-0391. It's 727-255-0391. Biggest fear, I get it. You're 16 games in. You talked about the offense. What else? Can they overcome all these pitching injuries at this point? It seems like they've been able to so far. I'd like seeing Mcclanahan go 7 innings.
Yes.
I would like to see more pitchers because you save your bullpen, and you have to have a guy that can go 7 or 8 innings, Jason Powers, especially with your bullpen and overtime the other night versus the Red Sox on Saturday night.
No, there's no doubt. I mean, as much as we all think you don't want to be blowing out your bullpen in April. Again, we all know it's a long year. One thing that, to chart with the Rays the last couple of years is the arm injuries. How much of the overusage of these relievers over the course of the last 2, 3, 4 years has attributed to these arm injuries and all that stuff. So, you and I have talked about this many times with as far as the Rays philosophy. It's a winning philosophy in the regular season. You can get away with it, but you got to have guys that can go 7 1/3 come playoff time. And that's a good sign that they allowed Mcclanahan to go that far. Now you got to get another pitcher or two that can show that the confidence that they can get deep into the game where you're not having to roll out your bullpen for 4 innings every night.
All right, I tell you what, let's go out to some of these more questions here. Pay Joe Tryon Shayanka. Well, he hasn't proven anything yet, but I think they intend Troy to pay him eventually if he produces. Harry says, I love cheap journalism. It goes back to the Chris Sims rumor. We talked about it with JC and Leo. What do you make of it? I mean, it's a rumor that won't go away. Chris Sims saying the Dolphins, they were willing to offer a second-round pick for Tom Brady and also a first-round pick for Sean Payton. I mean, come on. There's no way the Bucs are going to give up Tom Brady for a second-round pick. Come on.
Why are we talking about this?
I got to talk about it.
Tom Brady said he's playing.
Right.
Tom Brady, he's not waffling. He's not still in retirement. He's playing. So let's stop talking about the Miami deal till this time next year, come February of next year. Then that's when the speculation can rise. Because obviously I don't think you're going to see Brady sign another extension. I think he's going to play it out this year, be a free agent. If he decides to play another year, whether he stays here, I don't think he's going to a third team at this stage. I think he'll either keep playing with the Bucs or retire and go into ownership with Miami. It makes perfect sense. Stephen Ross is a Michigan guy. I think Giselle likes the Miami area, so I could see them relocating and establishing a residency down there. So it makes good sense when he's done playing, but I don't think Tom Brady's done playing yet. It wouldn't surprise me if he played 2 more years.
Why not? And why not with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers? All right, so we read that comment. Let's go out to Brandon Spikes. We need people in the secondary. I mean, is that how you feel? I mean, JC from Pewter Report kind of feels like the Bucs would draft a safety. Do you feel like that's a need? Also, with, losing a Jordan Whitehead, you have a Logan Ryan, you signed a Keanu O'Neal, you still have an Edwards back there, but getting a young safety, does that make sense at 27 for you?
I don't think there's an impact guy there at 27, to be honest with you. I don't think I know the couple of the corners that, Gardner and Stingley, they won't be there anywhere near where we're drafting. I think the Bucs have done a pretty good job over the last few years drafting cornerback, safeties, second, third round. Carlton Davis, Murphy Bunning, Jamel Dean. They'll definitely draft somebody in probably this, third, fourth round for sure. Again, I don't think you have to draft another safety. You sign Logan Ryan; he's pretty young. You got Antoine Winfield. You got Mike Edwards. If you go that route, they're gonna keep loading up on experience. I think if they add to the secondary, impact wise, they're gonna look for some experience. Some. I don't think they're gonna put another rookie back there and hope he starts from day one.
I agree. I absolutely agree with that. All right, let's go out to Roger Shue with his comment. Talk about Iron Mike Tyson against your boy Jake Paul. Jake gets knocked out in the first round. Well, first, Roger, it's just a report. It hasn't happened yet. But really, if this happens, Jason Powers, first and foremost, are you buying it? Second, what do you think really does happen? Does Jake Paul finally get knocked out?
If Mike Tyson and Jake Paul get in the ring, really?
I'm saying, I mean, this has been thrown out there. Look, we're
sounds like Mike Tyson has some other issues with getting in entanglements with people on the airplane.
You said entanglement.
That too. Getting jiggy with it. Get jiggy with it. You
said entanglement, and that made me automatically think of Smith and Jada.
Getting jiggy with it.
Too much jiggy with it, and of course, did you see that? I mean, honestly, he's going to get sued for a lot of money. But really, seriously, would you be interested in a fight with Jake Paul, Mike Tyson, and then we'll go to USFL?
I really would not be. I mean, that's not my thing. These celebrity matchups and all that stuff. Come on now. Come on.
Okay.
No, I'm not watching. Sorry, you're not getting my $69.99 for the pay-per-view. Sorry.
I think a lot of people would buy Jason Powers. Yeah, I do. I think they would. I mean, look, if you're going to buy Mayweather and Pacquiao, because this was talked about today in the article from Tyson, he thinks that they could overcome that, and it would be something that everybody would want to see. A YouTube influencer who's undefeated with his fights. He's a big-time talker.
I'd take Mike Tyson.
I think you would take Mike Tyson too. I hate to say it. Sorry, I'm the Rolex reporter, but yikes. All right, we're on with Jason.
Unless they do it, we need him to come down and do another press conference downtown.
Well, I ain't saying that to his face. I tell you that right. I'm your host, Peter Blake, giving you something to think about. Really quick, stay on baseball. Did you see the incident that happened in New York with the fans? And what did you think about that against the Guardians?
Full disgrace in the Bronx.
Yeah.
I watched that happening. I happened to be flipping channels when all that happened live. So I actually did see that stuff live. What a disgrace by the Yankee fans. The guy goes face first into the wall for Cleveland. Then they all start, dogging the guy because he's clearly shaken up. They start dogging him. Then the center fielder comes to his teammate's defense. The center fielder, I'm sure they're saying some stuff because the left fielder for Cleveland is of, I think, Asian descent.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm sure there were some choice words being said to him that was inappropriate and probably out of line. Give the guy for Cleveland credit for defending his guy. And then after the game was over in the right field bleachers, all that crap, those people should be. It's an embarrassment for the Yankee organization for that to happen. They better get those guys on videotape and identify those people and deal with those people very swiftly, as far as revoking their tickets or suspending from Yankee Stadium for the next 5 years or something significant, because that's a disgrace.
That is a disgrace.
I hope Rob Manfred fines the Yankees $100,000 or something for that behavior, because that was a disgrace for the sport.
It really is. And we're on with Jason Powers. Let's go out to Roger Shue here. Says, I want to see Mike crush that little. You know what? I bet you wouldn't say that to his face. I guarantee you wouldn't say it to his face, Roger Shue, right there. Trolling as always.
Back to the Bucs real quick. Wouldn't shock me if the Bucs traded out of the first round. One, you're going to save some money on the salary of that player between a first rounder and second rounder. You're going to save some money. And you could probably get the same player at 34, 35 that you could get at 27. So that could be a spot where somebody could trade up to get a quarterback back into the first round. One of those, like a Detroit, somebody like that could trade back up. Pittsburgh could maybe trade back into the first round if they don't take a quarterback at 20. So that's a spot you could see the Bucs trade out of, accumulate maybe another first-round pick next year potentially, or a couple more picks this year in the draft, second, third-round picks.
And I still think wide receivers a need, but let's say a Traylon Burks is on the board and the Bucs are not interested. Maybe you can entice Kansas City to give, a couple. They got 2 first-round picks, so maybe you can entice Kansas City to give you a couple picks for that. Yeah, I think it's not about quarterbacks in this draft. I actually think it's wide receivers. It's going to be a run on wide receivers, and these teams like Green Bay and Kansas City, we know that they're going to need a top wide receiver, and they may be trading up, and teams may be trying to trade down because the talent, is not that great. But after the 10 picks, it's, kind of, throwing in against the wall at that point.
No, I'm with you. I think, and this is a deep draft at wide receiver, so you can get a pretty good wide receiver in the second round. So I think the Bucs, I think they'll draft a wide receiver at some point. I could see them drafting one in the second or third round because, that position, and you need another tight end. There's not a good tight end class. Maybe if you're the Bucs, you take the best available tight end in the second or third round. That's again a definite area of need. You got Gronkowski, you got Brake getting older. You need a third tight end. So I definitely think the Bucs might be in the tight end market second, third round.
What do you make of the rumor today that Trayvon Walker could be the number 1 overall pick? It kind of reminds me of like 2005. I think Houston. Everybody was saying Reggie Bush or Vince Young. And then all of a sudden, Mario Williams comes out of the blue. Could this happen again with Walker? And is this a mistake by Jacksonville to take him over a Hutchinson from Michigan?
Back in 2005, the debate was, do you take offensive, defensive linemen centerpiece, or do you go with the flashy skill player, Reggie Bush? Obviously, I think they made the right decision. And Mario Williams had a pretty good career for 6-7 years. The issue with Trayvon Walker is you don't have much production at Georgia.
Correct.
He's a workout warrior kind of guy. He's the Mr. Potential. Could he be, people are comparing him, could he be a J.J. Watt, Aldon Smith kind of guy? Or could he be Andre Bruce? If you remember a guy like that from the mid-'80s was the number 1 pick, and he was terrible. Dude did not play well.
Give me another one. Mike Mamula.
Yeah. And he wasn't the number 1 overall pick, but he was a workout warrior. Right. That's why his stock went up so high and he got drafted as high as he did for the Eagles back in the day. But yeah, it doesn't matter what you look like. Here's a name close to home that everybody thought was going to be a sensation. He was like the top 5 pick. William Golston's brother, Vernon Golston at Ohio State.
Yeah.
Turned out to be a complete bust, but he looked the part. In a mirror, he looked like an Adonis. Trayvon Walker has all the measurables and all the the combine times and measurements, but he hasn't produced. And ultimately, in the NFL, you got to make plays.
You absolutely got to make plays, and that didn't necessarily happen yesterday. Let's switch gears with the Tampa Bay Bandits. In fact, what the heck was that, Jason Powers? 34-3 to the New Orleans Breakers, and we all thought, with them doing what they did the first game, the first week, 17-3 over the Maulers of Pittsburgh, that, they're the best quarterback and best coach, and they're the best team in the league. And obviously they're not. I mean, when your quarterback only throws for 62 yards, they rush the ball more. But that was just a complete debacle yesterday by the Bandits. Your thoughts on that game?
My thoughts are more on the league. I think the league is showing why these guys are not NFL players. The ability to consistently do it. That's the difference between guys that make the NFL and guys that don't, is the ability to consistently be productive. Nobody says you have to throw for 400 yards, but the ability to complete the simple passes, to make the simple tackles, to block the right guy if you're an offensive lineman. I think that's what you're seeing in this league is especially at the quarterback position. You're not seeing a lot of consistency. You're not seeing a lot of guys that are making plays. These guys are in this league as quarterbacks for a reason. Most of these guys have been out of college for 3 or 4 or 5 years from the quarterback position, and they've not hooked on in the league and been able to establish themselves in the league. So if the quarterback play isn't good, it's going to be hard for that to trickle down to the rest of the team, because consistency is the biggest key word in that league that's hard to master for those players, and that's why they're in that league.
And I got somebody who contacted me yesterday. He's like, Christopher Cole, it's like watching a Saints game versus the Bucs. I mean, they get out to a 14-0 lead, and then after that, they basically steamroll this team. Are you worried? I know it's 2 games in, but are you worried about the Bandits maybe not being as good as we thought they were going to be? Or is it just one game? Calm down, relax, Peter.
Did we how good did we really think they were going to be? I know they played well the first week.
I thought they were going to win the league, honestly. I mean, everything I read, I was all on board with Todd Haley. Not saying I'm not. I'm just saying, what you watched yesterday, what I watched yesterday, that was not winning football. That didn't look like a top team in the league. That looked like the last place team in the league. Maybe
I think you're going to see a lot of this out of all the teams.
Right.
Most all the teams are going to be up and down. There's going to be a week where they all play really well, and there's going to be a week where they all throw in a dud. Remember, these rosters are only 38, 39, 40 players.
Yeah.
So it's not even a full NFL roster when it comes to number of guys. Again, you got a lot of these guys that haven't played a lot of organized football in a while. So they got thrown together, played in Birmingham, been there 3-4 weeks. They haven't been there very long. Some of these guys, who knows what's on their mind. You got guys that are TikTok stars. You got guys that are MMA guys. So who knows what the motive? I mean, sure, they all want to make the NFL, but again, consistency is the key. I think the teams in that league that show the most consistency are going to be through 2 weeks. New Orleans has shown a lot of consistency. To me, offensive line play is going to be critical in that league. If you can run the ball with some consistency, you're going to be making it a lot easier on your quarterback. There's some good receivers in that league. There's some good skill players, but up front, can these teams open up holes and protect the passers for them to be able to at least be serviceable? I don't think you're going to see guys throw for 300-400 yards every week.
Right. I mean, is it realistic to think that that could be the biggest weakness of the Bandits? Is that offensive line yesterday? I mean, again, the Breakers have the 2 games, pretty good defense, but that was a problem when your quarterback is under pressure the majority of the game and he's only throwing for 62 yards and you're getting sacked 3 or 4 times. You're not going to win anything. I don't care what quarterback, what league you're in, right?
And I think he threw, 2 or 3 interceptions?
Yeah.
Tamu, I saw one of the interceptions, the receiver fell down, but still, you can't throw 3 interceptions in that league. And I know, I don't think it's the most complicated offenses you're seeing because there's only so much offense you can put in 2 or 3 weeks. But, I mean, you got to be able to hit the open guys. I've just seen too many guys that were open not get hit with easier throws. Again, that's the difference with why these guys are playing, in spring football as opposed to being the 3rd string guy in an NFL roster is because the consistency level of being able to and the processing, being able to process the information and read the defense, get the ball out of your hands and not get sacked.
Yeah, Roger says it's only 1 game. Calm down. I'm just saying it was not good football yesterday, Roger Shue. Just telling it like it is. Troy Polamalu, Peter, check out.
What's your opinion? What's your opinion on the Bandits?
I mean, I still see some deficiencies, and that's what I see with this Bandits team. It is the offensive line, and I've seen that with all these leagues. I don't think the offensive line, and they should probably concentrate more on getting a good offensive line, or you're going to get your quarterback killed at the end of the day. I mean, it's important.
There's only so many guys out there, man, and these guys are so used to running these college spread offenses where there's not a lot of physicality. And as you and I both know, when you get to the NFL level, the physicality is what separates offensive linemen. The ability to move people off the spot, be road graders in the run game, but yet have enough athleticism to be able to protect in the pass game. And again, I don't think these guys are running such complicated offenses, but you got to be able to block the guy in front of you. If you're an offensive tackle, you got to be able to block the edge. You got to be able to pick up blitzes if you're the interior guy. So it's just, some of these guys – and some of these guys aren't in great shape. Even after 3 or 4 weeks, are not in great shape because, again, they haven't been playing football for a long time.
What is the most encouraging aspect of this league through 2 weeks, and what's the most, what's the biggest disappointment in your opinion? Is it the crowds? Because you see the 17,000 from Birmingham, but then everybody else, it's just disappointing to see that. And I get it; it's a new league, you're playing it. And that's the thing. You get a home field advantage with the Birmingham team, but you would think more people would show up for it, right? I mean, is that the most disappointing aspect of it?
You can't expect Birmingham to support all the teams. They're going to support their team. So, I can't kill the city of Birmingham for that. I lived there for many years. That's a college football town. I hate to say it. It's an Auburn, Alabama town. They're not, they like their pro sports, but they don't live and die by their pro sports. So they're going to support the Birmingham team. I mean, the reason they all put the whole league in Birmingham was from finances. They're trying to centralize the cost, minimize the cost. I don't think they're as worried about the attendance as they are about the quality of football, because the quality of the football is what's going to enable the league to survive into year 2. If the quality of football is not good, Fox and NBC and USA Network, Peacock, they're not going to be in the league very long if the quality is not great. They need to show the quality to consistently get better week to week. That's what's going to allow the you and I people of the world, even though we're big football fans, that's going to put us in front of the TV and the average Joe fan who may not be a big football fan, but watch some spring football in front of the TV on a Saturday or Sunday in this time of year.
Yeah, it's about the storylines. I mean, when it comes to the National Football League, you got to create those. That takes time. And then on top of it, you got to have talented players. I think the most disappointing aspect from the Bandits standpoint was their defense did not show up yesterday, and they made Jonathan Adams look like the next Odell Beckham. Although with that one-handed catch, I mean, 5 catches for 92 yards, going into it, we were told that the secondary had, some NFL talent there. They were going to be on the strong side. They had to answer for Mr. Adams yesterday, right?
Yeah, I mean, again, it's hard to, and no, I don't care what league it is. To be a cornerback in football these days is pretty damn hard. I don't care if you're, top flight NFL corners. It's hard because the rules are so much stacked against the defensive back. And there's so much man-to-man, and there's so much wide open field now with the spread offenses. It's almost impossible to be a lockdown corner these days.
It really is. Good point there, Jason Powers on Sports Podcast here on the Evolution. It's the Sports Web. I'm your host, Peter Blake, giving you something to think about. Okay, positive, encouraging thing that you've seen out of this league. It's not bad. It's not really bad football play. There have been some close games besides the game yesterday with the Breakers and Bandits. Nobody told them, but everything else has been pretty close, right? Pretty good football.
Yeah. And I think one of the good things you're seeing is the innovation in technology, the speediness of these reviews, the technological things, the drones, the different camera angles they're giving you, the insight into the huddle as far as you can hear the head coaches calling the plays. You got the sideline reporter standing right next to the head coach. I like that. The NFL is never going to allow that because of all the information, but I think it's good for the spring league to do that, to get the fans inside the huddle a little bit better, those kind of things. I think the announcers are doing a pretty good job. I mean, I think Jason Garrett's done okay. There's been some
Jason Garrett.
You don't think?
I mean, I didn't think he was going to be a good announcer, but I'm surprised.
He's okay. Yeah,
he's not bad. He's pretty good. He's got some personality to it. It's tough. Yeah,
no, I agree. I think. I mean, it's better than Michael Robinson. I listened to him in one of the games, and he was struggling, in my opinion. I mean, he was just, the NFL Network guy that's doing on one of the broadcast team. But Joel Klatt does a really good job for Fox.
Love him.
He's the college guy, and he does some NFL occasionally, some NFL games. But he's really insightful. And I think Garrett's done a good job as well. So, I mean, I definitely think Jason Garrett might have a future in obviously in broadcasting if he wants to get out of coaching.
All right, let's go out to these comments here. I love the Bandits. All right, good, Roger. USFL sucks. This is what you get for that.
Shitter!
How about them Bucks, baby? Well, you wanted Byron Leftwich, so there you go.
How about them Bucks, baby?
Roger Shue says, Troy, you suck, not the USFL. NFL's #1. Troy, again, bring back old school football, no pads, no helmets. What old school football are you talking about, Troy? Troy, go troll somewhere else, please. All right, let's go back to the draft here. Biggest riser, biggest faller, in your opinion?
Well, the biggest riser is Trayvon Walker, because 2 months ago we didn't know who Trayvon Walker was. Really,
right.
I mean, he was probably a marginal first round pick, probably second round pick. Now he might be the number 1 pick in the whole draft. So he's clearly the number 1, the best riser. Faller. I think the guys with character issues that we don't know about yet, and you'll hear some of that information trickle out come draft day when those guys start to fall. You'll hear the Mortensons and the Schefters talk about some of the character issues with some of these guys. There's a guy the Bucks are looking at, Devontae Wyatt, Georgia.
Yeah,
big defensive lineman. Sounds like he has some character issues. So that's something you have to be aware of as far as the Bucks go. Those are the things that are going to trickle out here as the draft goes. My question is, do the 49ers trade Deebo Samuel on draft night? Do a team like the Jets, maybe a Green Bay, do they make a big, they make a team with 2 number 1s? Do they make a big push to the Niners, an AFC team? Because I don't think that the Niners would ever trade him to the NFC. Does one of these AFC teams on the rise make a big move for Deebo Samuel?
Yeah, I just wonder how many wide receivers are going to get traded on draft night, because you talk about A.J. Brown, Terry McLaurin, and now Deebo Samuel. But you look at his statistics, first player, Jason Powers, in NFL history to have 1,400 receiving yards and 300 rushing yards. And the reason why supposedly he wants to be traded from the 49ers is because of his usage. Do you understand this? I mean, I get it. He's taking lots of hits, but it seems like it makes him more valuable in the long run when you use him the way he does, right?
It's funny how he's gonna utilize all the rushing yards and rushing attempts and all that stuff to get a contract.
Right.
And once he gets the contract, he's gonna say, I don't want to run the ball anymore. That doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna pay Deebo Samuel top dollar if I'm not gonna be able to use if he's gonna bitch and moan about running the ball. The other thing about Deebo Samuel you got to be wary of, he's not been healthy a whole lot of his 4-year career, 3.5-3-year career. He's had some injury issues his first 2 out of these 3 years. Last year was his really first big year. I mean, he had some potential and some flashes of brilliance, but he's had some injury issues throughout his career in the only 3 years in the NFL with the 49ers.
All right, I'll read this comment here. No more draft. We're bored with it. Boring. And you know why he's acting like this, Roger Shue, the tribal troll? Because his Chicago Bears don't have a draft pick, and they actually may not have a wide receiver after this because according to various reports, Chicago Bears wide receiver Byron Pringle was arrested on Saturday after Florida Highway Patrol allegedly found him doing donuts in his car on State Road 56. I observed a large cloud of smoke in the area of a medium break, Florida Highway Patrol Sergeant Justin Bloom wrote in an arrest report. I heard the sound of squealing tires and saw the cloud of smoke, which reduced the visibility to nearly zero for traffic on the westbound lanes of State Road 56.
By the way, that's in our neck of the woods. I think that's Pasco County, by the way.
It is Pasco County. Pringle's Dodge Challenger was $60,000. It cost upward of $60,000.
Yeah.
On top of it, had a male passenger in the seat and also a male juvenile child in the left rear seat. What is he thinking?
Can a man do some donuts in the road, man, like the NASCAR guys do after they win?
No. You know why? Because you got a contract with the National Football League, and this moron may be out of the National Football League with this because who knows what could have happened. Honestly, this is kind of ridiculous. I mean, why do this? Seriously.
I mean,
you don't find it. You don't find it.
Oh, it's comical. It's comical.
Comical. Right.
Again,
I mean, there could have been tragedy with
I agree. I mean, but he'll probably he may get suspended a game. He won't get a huge suspension because nobody got killed or there was not an accident. But if again, I don't know all the circumstances. Was he doing it in the middle of the night when there's nobody on the road? I don't know. Was he weaving in and out of traffic? I doubt it. We don't know all the circumstances, but yeah, that's moronic. If you're doing that, that's moronic.
And then on top of it, he did have a suspended license. So congratulations. There you go, Roger. There's your story for the night.
Go to the DMV, Byron. We all have to do it.
It's
simple these days. Freaking go to the DMV for a couple hours on a Tuesday, Byron.
I mean, how do you have your license suspended? You're an NFL wide receiver, and he's a local guy. Of course, he's from Florida. Let's go out to Christopher Cole. I like JC's idea about having the Bucs trade down and pick up Kadarius Toney. Of course, that's been discussed. The Giants.
Knucklehead. Don't get him.
Expound on this, Jason Powers.
If he can't even be productive for the Giants, and I know they've had issues at quarterback.
The Giants are awful.
But he's also been accused of his work ethic is terrible. He can't learn the plays, not very professional. I don't think you want that kind of guy. The Bucs have already had that nonsense. The Bucs are not having that kind of nonsense with Tom Brady. I'm telling you, especially with only because Brady knew Antonio really well was why he was in that building. They're not putting a guy in that building that doesn't know Brady inside and out with that knucklehead nonsense or any of those rumors. They're not.
All right, one more last question, and I'll get you out of here, Jason Powers. Thanks a lot for your time, Powers on Sports Podcast. There was a story, I think it came out a couple of weeks ago. We didn't get a chance to cover it. Floyd Mayweather would offer an NFL team $20 million to pick up an Antonio Brown. Would you do it if you're an NFL general manager? $20 million for an Antonio Brown. Go.
If I'm Floyd Mayweather, let's worry about not beating women's asses. How about that? Let's worry about trying to keep your hands off the ladies. Okay, go to your Vegas sports book, bet the $1 million that you like to do a couple times a year on an NBA game. Roll in the money. I got you. You got more money than God. I get it, but please stop.
Yeah, please.
Peter,
stop.
are you going to be at the Antonio Brown Rap Fest when he comes to town on his tour? You coming to see him rap when that happens?
Here's my answer.
How about no? Oh my God! Who the hell cares?
Look, I don't get it. I don't understand the fascination. I get it. He was hanging out with Kanye West, and he's got all these, rappers doing features for him. But he's awful. He's an absolute atrocious rapper. He just needs to stick to his day job. Maybe go into, I don't know what he needs to go into. Go into celebrity boxing. Go box Jake Paul.
You're not going down to Ybor City to see him one night at the club when he debuts.
How about no?
Jason Powers, go ahead and promote yourself before I kick you out of here.
All right, Powers on Sports podcast. We're going to have a draft preview that's coming out tomorrow, Tuesday. We're going to have your buddy and mine, JP Peterson, break down the draft, a little Lightning playoff hockey. We're talking NHL playoffs, Lightning. There's some basketball stuff. The Nets get swept out. Kyrie is a clown of epic proportions. Ben Simmons. We're going to come out with a no quarter given. You and I are going to be doing that podcast here. That'll be coming out this week as well. A little Bucks draft preview as well. So lots going on in the Powers on Sports podcast and No Quarter Given podcast. Check it out. YouTube channel as well. Jason Powers, YouTube. Check it out.
All right, I got a joke. What do you get with Antonio Brown's rap career and also Ben Simmons' NBA career?
Lots of hundreds.
Nothing. You get nothing, but you don't. You get something here on the Evolution of Sports Talk Television. Jason Powers, Powers on Sports podcast. Thanks a lot for your time. Appreciate you.
You got it, bud.
All right, good stuff. Oh, you guys forced me to talk about that kind of stuff, but that's what we do here on the Evolution. Let's go ahead and wrap it up from here because we are doing another show tomorrow night. Thanks to the great Leo Haggerty, former coach, scout, and out media member of Night Sports Productions, Amped Up Sports. Of course, JC Allen of Pewter Report and Jason Powers, Powers on Sports podcast. Catch us tomorrow night, 9 o'clock here live on I Love St. Pete, the Hub, and Amped Up Sports. And like and subscribe to the Sports Web on YouTube. Do 3 things for me on this Monday weekend or Monday edition of the NFL Draft. Only 4 days away. We'll continue Roger's shoe to talk about it. 3 things. Bring your passion. Bring your excitement. Just don't bring any nonsense. I'm your host, Peter Blake. Have a great night.
Stan Arthur here for the I Love St. Pete Facebook group. If you're a business owner looking to connect with tens of thousands of potential new local customers, you owe it to yourself to get enrolled in our Key Tag Rewards program. Since 2019, we've signed up more than 200 local merchants. Sponsor opportunities are available too, such as our group banner ad and even your own custom key tags. Just go to stpetekeytag.com, get enrolled, and get ready to get busy. stpetekeytag.com.
BetUS.com. If you guys are betting on the games, whether it's NFL, NCAA, of course, you're not going to do that now. Maybe basketball, not football, but of course, the NHL, NBA, go to BetUS.com. You get a 125% sign-up bonus. And also, if you use this code right here, the promo code of TSW22, which, by the way, stands for the Sports Web, TSW22, or call that number 1-800-69-BET-US. Again, 1-800-69-BET-US and put in that promo code TSW22, and I would really appreciate that.
I've had 27 beers spilt on me. Make that 28.
I've only got one place to go before the game.
BetUS.com.
Sign up at BetUS.com and get the best bonus.